Hi everybody, it's the end of the month, so it's time to show you all the pages I coloured during September of 2024. I'm going to dive right in with this one. This is Dreams of Dragons and Dragonkin, colouring book by Ravynne Phelan. And this one was a work in progress, as most of my pictures were this month. So I'll pop a picture up here of what it looked like before I actually started. You can see I've gone in there with a little bit of a marker base, and I was working on top of that with my pencils. And this one is one that I really wish I'd got on camera for you guys, but it was one I did off camera, unfortunately, because the process for getting this one actually working was a pretty long and kind of dramatic one, because it ended up going wrong so many times. I had to try so many different things to try and get this one to work. But I figured from the start that it was a work in progress because it was getting a little bit laborious there. I was trying to make the picture match the original artwork that I found online, if I remember rightly. That's what I was trying to do. And that was getting a little bit laborious, a bit too much work I was having to put in there. So I figured to get that one kind of up and running, I would bring in the Crayola Super Tips, because in this book I really do love using the Crayola Super Tips as watercolour. I've done a few videos on that on the channel using the Crayola Super Tips in this book, so I brought those in and I'll show you what we've ended up with. This is what we've actually ended up with. Bringing in those Crayola Super Tips and shading an awful lot on top with the pencils. And yeah, I think originally at first I was getting a bit too enthusiastic with those Super Tips. I was bringing in the really bright colours. Things were looking really too bright. I tried bringing in a little bit of the orange. I wanted the orange from the sky to be reflecting onto the dragon to try and make him look shiny. So I brought some orange in into his kind of knee area here, and that was looking really bad, so I tried to fix that by bringing in some glitter. I'm not sure if we can actually still see that glittering away on his leg. I'm not sure if we can get that to sparkle, but yeah, there is actually some Dovecraft glitter glue, a layer of that over his leg. I thought maybe I could bring that in to fix it, and that wasn't working either. I started overworking the paper, I think, a little bit, so I had to put it away. And what I actually ended up doing was bringing in the black gouache paint and going right over the edges, over this part of his leg here that I wasn't happy with. And I figured if I brought in that black around the edges, I could make the dragon with his rich colours kind of come up out of the darkness there, kind of show off this glow I had happening with the tree, which I've actually stuck with. I have tried to make that tree look as if it is shining there, which was a little bit difficult because we do have the light source here from the moon, I think this is supposed to be. So I was trying to bring that in to light his head as well to make that stand out, and I think it has worked in the end. But it was a little bit of a labour of love to actually get where I was happy with him, I think. I am really happy with him now. I think it's worked really super well. But yeah, this one was a real struggle, and I really wish it was on camera for you guys so you could see the process that I went through, kind of bringing in those pens, regretting it, trying to paint on top, putting the glitter, and like having to fix all those little errors that were kind of compounding each other there. I really think he's worked out really well in the end. Yeah, just with the Super Tips, I think the Crayola Super Tips, the black gouache paint. There is some Dovecraft glitter glue kind of on that leg area there, which I'm hoping is not too noticeable, but there is some Dovecraft glitter glue there. The white gel pen, a lot of white gel pen there, trying to make that tree look as if it is shining and going around the moon there. The actual moon I filled in with an acrylic marker to give that kind of off-white sort of creamy colour to that. I did bring in a few acrylic markers to give these highlights around the edges of his leg as well, to make those look as if they're shining in the light a little bit. And yeah, that's what we've ended up with. I did bring in the washi tape to kind of go tidy up the frame there a little bit, because yeah, as usual, I'm not the most tidiest painter, so we did have a few blobs over the edges there, but I think with that little bit of washi tape, that's tidied that up a little bit. And I think we've ended up with something that, yep, I'm pretty happy with there. So kind of happy that was finished. It's been a work in progress since I actually got the book, I think, a few years ago now. So yeah, happy with getting that one finished. That is, as I said, the first one I started, actually the last one that I finished this month, but yeah, happy that he's actually done and dusted. And the rest of my pictures, also works in progress. These are from Colouring Heaven magazines. I seem to have gone really heavy on the Colouring Heaven magazines this month. So the next one we're moving on to is the Fairies special by Janna Prosvirina. And I'll pop a picture up here of the work in progress before I started working on it. There's not super much done. A little bit of marker basing, I think, there. And this one, I think, again, is my downfall. I wanted to head towards those pastel colours, which is really not something that I like to work with. So not something I'm really drawn to. So this one got put to the side because, yeah, the original plan was pastel colours. So to turn this one around, looking back at why it was actually a work in progress, it was a work in progress because of the colours, I think, mainly more than anything, because I do like colouring fairies, so the subject wasn't really what was putting me off this one, it was the colours. And I figured, well, yeah, change up the colours and we can get somewhere with this one. So I thought with this, instead of going for pastel, I went for the more brighter shades of the colours that I was using. So I'll show you what we ended up with. Yeah, it really is pretty bright, this one. We can see there I've gone for the really kind of in-your-face kind of shades of the colours there, but I think it has worked really well. I've kept the bunny as is a little pink bunny there, which I think is really super cute. I added in these butterfly wings. Those are paper collage from an old colouring book with illustrations of butterflies in it, and I thought it might look really cute to make him a really fairy, kind of a fairy bunny. I would give him some wings there to really push that idea of being a fairy bunny. I think that's worked really well. I shaded on top of the actual illustration with some coloured pencils. I did some white outline there with a few little sparkles. Not sure I could bring super close, but you can see, yeah, I've come in with the white gel pen there. Lots of sparkles in the background here as well. I think I did that background with chalk pastel and just erased in a few little kind of circles there to try and give that kind of bokeh effect going on. Just a couple of different layers of chalk pastel came in with the eraser to make those little circles. I think that's worked really well. The rest of her I've kept just with her marker base. Yeah, she's fully marker based there, and I just went on top and shaded with the coloured pencils. I have added in a few little stickers and star stickers. If any of you remember those from my pound shop video where I did the pound shop challenge, those were the actual stickers I bought for that video, and again I've brought those in, and I've matched some stars on the actual bunny there onto her dress. I think I've brought in some gold Sharpie as well for some little kind of polka dots on her dress there, or sparkles of some sorts, and for the edges of her wings, we can see the edges of her wings there. I've brought in that gold Sharpie just for a little bit more colour there. And yeah, I think I really tried going in with the colourless blender to maybe add a few little white patches onto the wings. I'm not really sure that's showing up super well at all, but I did try going in with the colourless blender to give a little bit of pattern to those wings, and that really wasn't working. So that's why I brought in the Sharpie, the gold Sharpie there. I just added in a few little spots there on her wings. I've gone over most of the line art. I've just seen a bit I've missed, but I've gone over most of the line art for her hair with the white gel pen, maybe to make it look a bit more ethereal, a little bit more pastel-y maybe. And yeah, I think that's worked really well, bringing in a few of these darker shades of the pink, the brighter shades of the other colours, the green and the blue there. I think she's worked out quite nicely, and again it's one that I'm quite happy to get finished, because yeah, I really don't do pastel colours, so I really don't know why I keep starting these pictures with them, but that's how we've ended up, and again really quite happy with that. Really like the bright colours I've got going on in that one. So that is from the Colouring Heaven Fairies special by Janna Prosvirina. Next, we're moving on again to Colouring Heaven. This is the Fairies Compendium, and the picture that I coloured in this one is by Karron. There are a few different artists, as you can see, there's a few different artists in this one, but the picture I coloured, again fairly early in the month, this one, I think this is by Karron, the Wise Fairy, and this one was for the challenge on the Friends of Colouring Heaven Facebook group, which was for Alzheimer's and dementia awareness. And the challenge was to colour a picture and use 3 different colourways, or 3 different ways of colouring the picture, different media or different colourways, anything like that, to give 3 different sections to the picture pretty much. And this is what I actually came up with. The 3 different sections I actually did were watercolour pencil at the bottom there in the yellow and blue colours of the Alzheimer's Society logo. For the forget-me-not, I moved up into the sepia, kind of brown tones in the middle there. And for the top, I went into the drawing pencil shading with just the grey, faint shading there, kind of disappearing off into the top. And the idea was to have the picture looking as if it was fading off towards the top there. I did bring in the gold Sharpie again for the frame. I think I just shaded that a little bit with coloured pencil, brought in a few white gel pen highlights. And this one is on camera, I think, showing how I got these 3 different areas working together. I wasn't entirely sure if the idea would work when I first started, but yeah, I think it has worked pretty well, and it is quite a nice effect that I might use again in the future. So yeah, that is the one that I coloured for the Colouring Heaven challenge. Pretty happy with how that one turned out. I think it might be an idea that I will play with again in the future. And I don't think I mentioned for the middle, I brought in a very slight wash of coffee to give that sort of sepia tone to the middle part there, with a few splashes kind of fading off into the top there. Might try and bring that up for a little bit of a close-up. I'm not sure there's too much detail to actually be looking at in that one, but yeah, kind of happy with how that one turned out. I do like the way the colours kind of transition kind of softly into each other, almost unnoticeable the way it's transitioning between the colours. That was the idea anyway. Hopefully that's worked out how I actually intended it to. So again, yeah, pretty happy with how that's turned out. And that one is by Christine Karron from the Fairies Compendium Colouring Heaven. And following on from that previous picture where I did bring in the pencil shading, we're now moving on to the Colouring Heaven Flower Girls collection. This also has a couple of different artists in it, but the image that I actually worked on is by Mayumi Ogihara. And this one is another one I did a video on for the channel this month. And this is showing how I use the actual drawing pencils, different shades of drawing pencils, to actually colour a picture. So I'll pop a picture up here of the work in progress before I started working on it, because yeah, this one was a work in progress as well. There was quite a lot done, but my usual kind of method, figuring out why it was a work in progress, I figured out that yeah, it was just getting a little bit towards the tedious part of the picture with all the hair, just using the one colour for all that hair, all those little tiny flowers. And I figured the way I would get through that is just to power through it, get that bit done, and move on to introducing the colour that I wanted to introduce. To try and hype myself up to get the picture finished, I would focus on, yeah, once I've done this, I can move on to do the colour. So I'll show you the finished picture that we have. If I can find it, there we go, there she is. And yeah, again, super happy with how this one's turned out. I am quite happy with all of them this month, how they've actually turned out. Although a couple of them were a struggle, as I will move on to show you in a second. I think most of them have actually turned out really nicely. But this one, yeah, drawing pencils pretty much, apart from these coloured areas, which were a marker base with a little bit of pencil shading over the top. And this one again is a video on the channel trying to show a little bit of a sample of how I use drawing pencils just to shade a picture, which I think does work really nicely when you use it in conjunction with a little bit of colour, just to show a little bit of contrast between the actual coloured part of your picture and the actual pencil kind of grayscale shading. And I did have a comment on that video about using this kind of method on a grayscale picture, which is really intrigued me, so that's something I really want to maybe try out next month if I can get around to doing that. And I also had a comment about the background, so I'm going to have to try and figure out how I did that background, maybe try and get a video done on that for you guys. But all in all, yeah, really happy with how this one turned out. There wasn't that much really to do. I think I'd done her face, I'd done most of the flowers here, I'd done some hair down this side, so all that was left to do was the rest of the hair, rest of the flowers. Pretty much I'd done all the interesting bits. I do love colouring faces. That was the first thing I went in and actually shaded. But yeah, overall really happy. My usual kind of monarch butterfly there with the marker base. I'll show you. Yeah, we have the marker base there on the back just for the butterfly, her top and her eyes there. And that was actually a suggestion from my other half, my poor long-suffering partner. I explained my ideas to him sometimes and he said, oh, it would be really cool. Instead of just having the orange brought in, why not bring in some blue? He thought that might work quite nicely, and the blue does contrast really nicely, I think, with that orange. So yeah, it gives a really nice effect overall, I'm thinking, with that one. So again, yeah, really happy with how it's turned out, and yeah, I made a video on that one, which really again helped me to kind of power through the tedious bits and get through and actually finish that picture. So it was really nice to get that one done, because she's been a work in progress for absolutely ages, that one. Again, at least a couple of years, so another one off the whip pile that I can tick off as being done. And that one is from the Flower Girls Colouring Heaven special by Mayumi Ogihara, that one was. Next, we're moving on to Alice in Wonderland Special Coloring Heaven. This one is by Eeva Nikunen, and again, this one was a work in progress, so I'll pop up a picture here of what it looked like before I started. I started this one off by going in with some pastel colours to test out a set of pencils that I bought, a really cheap set of pastel coloured pencils. I had to go with and colouring this picture, and it was going okay, but I'm really not a fan of those pastel colours, and that's what was putting me off. I did try and come in with some glitter glue there on her dress, her white dress, to try and kind of build myself up to be excited about it, but yeah, I really don't get excited about pastel colours. They're not my kind of thing. So this one got put away because of that reason, I think. So again, to switch that up and get myself motivated to work on this one, I decided to really switch up those colours. So I'll show you guys what we actually ended up with. Here we go. It's one of my favourite ones this month, I think. I do love how she turned out. This is my white queen now. Yeah, I did keep the dress. I kept the white dress because I do like the glitter. I like the way that was turning out. And for most of the background, if you remember, there was loads of roses drawn here. And roses are not really something that I like to colour either. That was another reason this one was being put off, I think. Those roses in the background. And I wasn't really too sure about the pastel coloured kind of pinky peachy one that was going on here. So I covered most of those up with scrapbooking paper. I just left a little bit of the background here that I coloured in red with a alcohol marker, and I just dabbed that with some alcohol hand sanitizer gel to get a little bit of a texture going on there. Maybe I thought it would look like crushed velvet or something, or leather, something along those lines. Just a bit of interest in the background there, which I think has worked really well. There's a lot of paper collage for this background piece here and for her fans. I cut around some of the parts of the picture, her hair here, her crown. I lifted those up, I slipped the collage paper behind and stuck that down. Again, that's a video on the channel showing each part of how I actually went ahead and fixed this picture or turned it into something I would like to colour. There's a bit of acrylic marker here for her wristband. I just went over the silver that was already there, added the crystals back in, which I put into her hair as well, these little kind of stick-on crystals. And on her hair here, the edge of her crown. Her lipstick was the acrylic marker as well. And after I finished the video, I did go ahead and give us some of a smoky eyeshadow sort of idea happening there. I'm not very good at colouring makeup as I don't really wear it that often, but I think, yeah, that adds a little bit of the goth sort of style that I was going for. And again, around the edges, I went in with some washi tape. This one's slightly more sort of glittery, that one, if we can get that shining. Yeah, that one's more glittery, sort of black washi tape around the edges there. And I think she's looking really, really effective, really cutting down those colours there, just taking it to black, white and a little bit of red. I think has really kind of boosted that one a lot, and I really like it a lot, that one. A lot better than the pastel colours, which are really not my thing. So yeah, again, really happy with how that turned out. Yeah, and that glitter around the edge of the page there matches with the glitter that we do have on her dress, which probably won't glitter in the lamp that we have here, but yeah, she is a fairly glittery page, even though the colours are fairly dark and subdued there. And I really love the kind of feel she's got going on with that kind of gothic style, which is what I wanted to go for. And yeah, again, another one that I'm really happy with. I'm really happy the picture is actually finished, and a video on the channel if anyone is interested. And that one is from Coloring Heaven Alice in Wonderland Special by Eeva Nikunen. And last but definitely not least, this is Coloring Heaven Fledgling Fairies Special. This one is by Karron, and this one is a buddy colour with my lovely friend Emma Harvey. I will show you her version in a little bit, but yeah, this is by Karron, and the picture we chose to colour is this one here. There we go, very happy fairy. I think it's called Summer Rain, but I think both of us went for like an autumn, sort of yellowy, sort of orange golden colour palette, which I think works really well for it. So yeah, really, again, happy with how she turned out, even though at the start, again, this one was a little bit of a disaster. So we've started and we finished with one that started off as a disaster. But yeah, with this one, I started going in with marker base. Show you there, we have a marker base, and this leaf, yeah, this leaf was looking absolutely terrible, and I was despairing that it would ever be looking good. And you might be able to see there as well, I actually dropped a marker onto the page and I ended up with a green blob down the side here, and that's why we have ended up with the washi tape as a background there. making this little frame to hide that green blob that I had going on in the background. But once I'd put that on, I think, and worked on top of these leaves with the pencils, a heck of a lot. There was a lot of pencil shading there. I had to erase and try again, erase, try again. But once I finally got those leaves working, I think the whole thing started coming together a little bit there. I think she looks really good, yeah, keeping with the autumny kind of colour scheme. As I said, we have washi tape for this frame and washi tape for the skirt because she kind of finished here with the swirl of her top. And I thought with the frame that looked a little bit odd if I didn't carry on a skirt down the bottom there. So this is also washi tape from a set of autumn sort of themed washi tapes that I had that I really wanted to try out anyway. So yeah, bonus, I got to try out all those different washi tapes there. And yeah, I think she's turned out really nicely. There is some glitter glue on her top. Yeah, there we go. We can get that glittering glitter glue on her top there. Gold glitter glue there on top of that green, which I thought was be really bright and stand out there quite nicely. I'll shove us over to the side there so I can bring up Emma's version of the picture here. She's gone for the more yellowy golden sort of autumn colours, which I think works super nicely with those pink blushy cheeks and the lipstick. Oh, super cute, I think. Yeah, it was a lovely picture anyway, really sweet and happy picture, and she was super fun to colour. Once I'd got past that disastrous start, that rainy effect in the background, yeah, that was super fun. That was one of the last ones that I finished this month. The dragon was actually the last one that I did finish just a couple of days ago. Yeah, finally got him done just on time. And yeah, that's everything I managed to get done for September. And there we go. And as next month is Halloween. October is Halloween month, and Halloween is about the only holiday I do actually colour for. I'm not much of a seasonal colourist, but I do like to get the few spooky colourings going on for Halloween season, so I'd like to take that as my theme for the month. Is the spooky kind of darker side of the colouring pages. See if I can get a few gothic or spooky, creepy sort of pictures going on. I have a few Alan Robert books I haven't coloured in yet. I'd love to bring in a few Colouring Heavens with the gothic style art in them. So yeah, that will be my theme for October. Hopefully you've enjoyed looking back at all the pages I coloured during September this month. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye!